Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have D2, The Mighty Ducks. Yes, that would indicate that D2 would indicate that's a sequel to the original Mighty Ducks. And there's a D3, by the way, and also a a Mighty Ducks Disney Plus series that just got canceled after 2 seasons. So yeah, there's plenty of Mighty Ducks to go around in Disney Plus. I have to admit that I may not have seen the original. I didn't grow up with it. This is from 1994. The original came out in 92. This is an hour and 47 minutes long, and of course it's a sports drama. It's about a bunch of kids who eventually triumph over adversity in their little pee-wee hockey team. It's Bad News Bears for hockey kind of situation. They're all very different. They have to get along and then battle it out. So what do you do for a sequel that isn't going to completely rehash the original? Well, you up the stakes. You take them to an international stage. What are they going to do for D3? Intergalactic? I don't know. We'll have to find out. But in this case, they go up against different countries. Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, they play their island drums after every goal. It's a little cartoonish. It's the only thing they could keep. It's the next thing they could do other than doing like a cool runnings hockey kind of thing situation. And then of course they go up against Italy and other countries and just beat the crap out of them. Except when it comes to Iceland, and they go up against the Vikings, and of course they're all very Nordic and all very severe in the way they look, and their coach is slick back hair. Yes, it's 1994, but it is he look like a Gordon Gekko kind of 80s thing. This thing feels very 80s, not 90s. This is 94. I realize we're not that far out of the 80s, but beyond the whole tropey underdog going up against what seems like players that aren't teenagers at all. They seem like grown men that they're going up against. I don't know, but it's every trope you can imagine. You know how it's going to work out. In this case, though, in order to create tension with the team, within the team, they add more characters to the point that Pacey, Joshua Jackson, is barely in this film. I don't even know if he makes it to the third film, but he's barely in this film. He shows up here and there. Maybe I just wasn't looking at the right time. But they had 5 new, almost cartoonish type characters. The girl, so they have a second girl, but I can't really tell her apart from the other girl. Sorry, but okay, you have 2 girls now. Okay, maybe they can bond, but they show no moment in which the girls bond at all. They show a new player who looks a little bit older than the rest of the team. He's the goon. He's very rough, and he starts knocking people over, including children half his size. But he buddies up with, what's his name? Come on, give me his name. Eldon Henson. He was also Foggy Nelson on Daredevil on Netflix for a time, and now on Disney Plus. So he's the older, rougher, bully-looking dudes. They bond. The dorky kids, they bond. And of course, in order to create a story for Emilio Estevez, rather than he basically gets, I guess at the end of the first one, he goes back to being a hockey player, but he gets injured. Didn't he get injured in the first one, and that's why he was coaching a bunch of children? I don't know. I can't remember. It just seems like an old. And we watched the series. I watched one episode of the series, and I'm pretty sure that's what happened to him in that. Like, it just keeps getting injured and going back to not coaching hockey and then coaching hockey for children. So yeah, and then not doing it again because he didn't come back in season 2. Either way, in this one, he comes back and somebody scouts him basically and says, "Hey, we're gonna sponsor you, and we're gonna give you guys all new equipment." And of course, I'm not gonna spoil everything for you, but I'm gonna spoil enough. The movie's been out for nearly 30 years. If you're already a fan, you know what happens. If you haven't never seen it, you probably still know what happens. Because again, without knowing all the little details, they're going to win. They'll lose, and then they're going to win once they get their act together. Because everybody has their own issues they got to work out. One kid gets injured, but then right at the right time, well, I'm not injured anymore. There's another kid that's heckling them, played by Kenan Thompson. Yes, from Saturday Night Live. This must be like a few weeks before he joined Saturday Night Live because he's been on there forever. But he's a kid who's heckling the American team. Which they're Team USA now. They're not the Mighty Ducks, by the way. They're Team USA, and they're dressed as Team USA the whole time, and it makes you go, well, is this the D2 Team USA? No. Of course, eventually they get back in the uniforms at one point. It rallies them, and Queen sings "We Will Rock You," and yeah, it's all all the things you expect from a sports battle kind of movie. It's, you see it in baseball, you see it in football, you see it, of course, in hockey. Hockey's a bit more physical. Well, except for football. Football's pretty physical, but in this, it's and like the other team, like the Vikings, they have no redeeming values whatsoever. Like their coach is cartoonishly evil. The rest of the guys are just big, and they're fast, and they're pushing the smaller kids around, the American team around, the Mighty Ducks, because they can, and there's almost nothing redeeming about them where you can't say, well, maybe they're misunderstood, or maybe there's no, they're all bad. In fact, at one point, and again, there's a lot of stuff with Emilio Estevez's, coach Gordon Bombay. His character's arc in this is kind of just shorthand for a lot of different things. He suddenly gets a lot of notoriety, and he's known as just a great coach, and he led the Mighty Ducks to a championship before, and now he's leading the American team of children hockey, not adult hockey. Speaking of which, Wayne Gretzky, of course, shows up in basically a handshake cameo and then a team photo kind of thing. But there's so many other sports stars in this that literally walk through the shot. They probably got a pile of money to just do a handshake cameo with Emilio Estevez and a bunch of children. And that's just like, they're not even on screen for 2 seconds. Oh, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Okay, he got 2 scenes. There was a sit down with Emilio at one point. But okay, Gordon Bombay, it all of a sudden kind of goes to his head. They give him a nice place out in Malibu to stay at while they move the team to Hollywood, to LA. Again, the championship has to happen in Anaheim because that's where the Mighty Ducks are based. I've never been to a Mighty Ducks game. I kind of want to now because I have to wonder if they play that very 80s hair metal like theme songs. Rock the Pond. Do they play Rock the Pond during the games? I want to hear that over the PA system. They might still have a season. Maybe I should go because it's just so Gordon, it all goes to his head. He becomes really rough with the kids and just mean, and he's just gonna win. The sponsors will not like us, and even the guy who gets him into this, you figure that maybe he's gonna be the villain. Like he's manipulating them into winning and making sure that that's all that matters, and the kids don't have fun. But no, it's totally Bombay because it's the guy who signed them up. They make him a likable guy. He's played by Michael Tucker. Tibbles is his name. Oh, and there's also the kids get a tutor, although they don't show her teaching them anything at any point, except for one time. I think she wakes up the children in class because they're exhausted. So, but she's the pretty blonde girl who joins the team, and it doesn't seem like Gordon has any interest in her whatsoever. Like there's no romantic thing going on whatsoever until Eventually they get to the point where they're almost at the championships, the final games, but this is still early on. Like he meets another very pretty blonde who knows who he is because of his fame and his notoriety, and she just happens to be part of the Vikings Icelandic team. That he becomes friends with her, and they go out for ice cream, and they seem to be dating and probably hooking up, and then the kids all wonder, oh, how did the other team know so much about our moves and stuff like that? It turned out that he probably told her, and once he realizes that himself, he ditches her. But we never see her again for the most part, except in the background of certain scenes. There's no like confrontation between him and her, and then toward the end, once Gordon Bombay has been totally, like, the kids no longer like him anymore, and he's just gone off the rails, and there's a big separation between them. When he finally returns, blowing the Mighty Ducks kazoo or whatever it is, he kisses the teacher. Like, oh, you're conveniently here, pretty girl. Let me give you a kiss, because there was an emotional connection we've never had until this moment. Maybe I looked away at the wrong time. I sat down, I watched this entire thing, and I do not recall any emotional or love interest development whatsoever. In fact, there's even another love interest development toward the last 10 minutes of the movie where, yes, the cowboy hockey player who's good at roping other players, and then does that in the championship game. And I'm like, to protect the girl he likes from the original team, but I think was replaced by another actress. Either way, he ropes one of the opposing players, even though he's not supposed to be on the ice. He's not playing at that time. He finds a rope just conveniently sitting in their spot, ropes the guy so he doesn't smash her against the wall. Of course, at least he got a penalty. That's because I'm thinking, one, using a rope in hockey, probably not allowed. And also, another man on the ice. There's only so many supposed to be on at a time. I don't know much about sports. I'm not a big sports guy. If I played anything, I played hockey. I did play hockey growing up. And yeah, not like in a school setting kind of thing, just for fun, but still, I've been on my share of ice. I know how that kind of stuff works. I've seen my share. I've seen of any sport I've seen the most of, it's hockey games. So yeah. So you would kind of think that this would be like really, something I'd really enjoy. And yeah, I enjoyed it just for the absolute dorkiness. Of course there has to be, because it's the audience that this movie's for is not somebody my age. It's somebody who's going to be the kids, who looks like the kids on that ice in this movie. And there's a couple of montage scenes of the kids going off and exploring Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive, and trying to get into stores. Of course, children aren't allowed to be in those stores unsupervised. They trick their way in as Aaron Spelling's nephew or whatever. And they, at one point, they're like, oh, we need a dress for my mom. And they're like, okay, well, the woman running the store ends up bringing out these beautiful women in various dresses so the boys can just ogle them for what seems like probably a half an hour in different, just sexy dresses. Then she doesn't catch on until he eventually goes, oh, I'd like to see some bikinis. Okay, dude, that's funny. Inappropriate, but it's funny. It's children. They wouldn't know what to do with any of those women if they got the chance. So it's fine. We'll live through that one. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that just really doesn't connect, and it's just sort of like, oh, this is the point where we need to do this. We've seen and made these movies before, just with different actors, different circumstances, different sport. Here it is with D2. We're going to do it that way. So, yeah. It's not a great movie, despite what some people have said. It's not a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. But it's fun. It's got its fun moments. When the boys, I shouldn't say boys, when the team, the Ducks or Team USA, realizes they can no longer hack it against the Vikings or any other team, they're just going to lose now. They get taken aside by the kid that was heckling them, Keenan, and who again is just he's 14. He looks like he's 14. He says, "Hey, we're here in South Central. We're going to teach you, my brother and his friends and I, we're going to teach you how to play hockey." Yes, that happens all the time in South Central. All the big hockey players in South Central. Not saying that it's impossible, but they teach them street ball, which again is similar, but skates are not the same as ice skates. So wheel skates, yeah, inline skates, not the same thing. But I guess they teach them new fundamentals and how to work together as a team, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. I just think there's just so many kids now on the team that it was impossible to know or care who was going to give everybody, it's impossible to give everybody their moment, I think. They did it as best they could, but there was a lot of overlap. 2 goalies, Goldberg and the new girl from Maine. I don't know. So yeah, and there's a kid from Miami who's really fast, but he doesn't know how to stop. Like, they're just creating problems or issues that will be overcome in the final minutes of the movie. Just little character quirks for everybody to go, oh, that's a problem, but we're going to fix it, and you're going to see them overcome their adversity in the final moments of the movie, and hooray! And that's what you want from this kind of movie. You want something to cheer for, and that's what it does. It does really well. Like I said, Joshua Jackson just kind of disappears from the movie, and at one point, I'm going to spoil this. He literally, even though he's kind of the voice of reason, and he's like, "Hey, we want to do this for fun, not just to win." When they realize that they have too many kids that are going to play, he bows out and just goes, I'll just watch. I'll assistant coach. Like, okay. I guess he can't be the star of every film. Was he? He probably was the star of the last film, like one of them. I don't know. He's one of the holdovers. I know some of them didn't make it from the last movie to this one. I did check on that, but what are you going to do? I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that you might recognize in this. I mean, there's a lot of familiar faces, especially if you've seen the first film, or at least loved D2, or D1. If you love any of the Ducks films, yeah, you know what? There's nothing that's going to make you go, you know what? I hate these films. This is the kind of thing, if you grew up with it, you're going to throw it on in the middle of the day, and you're just going to, on a rainy Sunday afternoon, you're going to go, oh, I wasn't planning on watching this, but I can't stop. So, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily going to win over any new fans unless they're really, really little and they really, really love hockey, but yeah. To a more mature, critical mind, this is not exactly a film. It's okay. It's okay. It's good to have fun, just good, mindless, dumb fun. And by the way, speaking of just dumb fun, introducing all the characters again is done by the kids inline skating throughout whatever neighborhood they're in. I don't know if they're in Minneapolis or something like that. They're just inline skating, just zipping through town, going through fountains and through construction sites and doing all sorts of crazy fun stuff that you kind of wish you could do as a viewer. If you're 12 and you're watching this and like, oh my gosh, these kids are cool. I want to join the Mighty Ducks. That's exactly. They do a really good job of just, yes, it's absurd, but if you're 12, this is cool. So it makes sense. Sort of. Anyway, let's pick tomorrow's episode.
579.
Oh, wow. Opposite end. 579. Opposite end of the list. It's almost at the very, very end. Oh my gosh, it is literally second to the end. But it's a short or a series of shorts. featuring our buddies at Big City Greens. They do a lot of different shorts, single shorts or groups of shorts where they're literally 2 minutes long or something like that. We've seen that they do it for the holidays, like for Christmas or Thanksgiving and things like that. But this one, as you can tell by the end of the list, begins with a Z. So it is more Halloween, I guess. It's Zombie-thon with Big City Greens. Just missed seeing Zorro. Man. So yeah, Zombie-thon with Big City Greens is what we're watching next on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. I'll see you back here tomorrow with that.